Oh, good afternoon, everybody. So here we are again, and it's now the 5th of April. It'll be the 11th of April soon. That's only not far away, and that's when the first boat could get home. We'll have to wait and see. Hard to believe, jeepers, it's nearly all finished, and time is flying. So there's no standout tweets at the moment from any entrants. It's all pretty much business as usual, but there's winners and losers again. Same story. So we'll get straight into it and have a quick look at what's happening. So here we go. That's the current situation without the real weather. This is the real weather. So the scenario is with Penjuic, they're getting some pretty solid stuff at the moment, but it's still only forecasting around about 31, 32 knots. So we didn't get a follow-up weather briefing on this, or weather alert for Penjuic. This was the front that went through, and that was quite dramatic. And it was still only forecast winds, sort of 32 knots, something like that. But because the front was quite vicious, with up to 55 knots and 5 metre seas, we gave them a weather alert because it was the first one for a while, the first sort of heavy weather. And they've gone through that now, and then this is just a follow-up system. We follow it on windy, but it's very clear that it's not, overly dramatic. And translated 9 and also Esprit de Keep, they're sort of just below it, but they're getting some solid breezes. They're getting sort of 28, 30 knot forecast and gusting maybe up to high 30s and so on. So all kind of interesting. Oh, there we go. We just logged over to the new positions now. So Penjuic still doing 10.4. They were down to 9 previously, and looking like about 250 mile days. And so we're pretty much expecting that to carry on for the next 5 or 6 days, all the way through to cows. So that will be kind of interesting. And you can see this middle fleet's back in the game now. They've got the breeze, but back here, Galliana with Secure and not going fast. Triana's right behind them, not going fast at all. And Vrica, at least they're moving. A big opportunity for Sterner. Sterner's coming up from behind, and they've caught up a huge amount of space, just a compression while everyone was being sort of stalling in the middle. And Explorer's still plodding along. I don't think they know what the speed's like, anything faster than 5.6 now. So they're doing 5.6, 91 mile days. That could be it for them all the way back. I'm not sure, but they've had plenty of breeze and they can't get above 5.6. So that's all to do with their damaged reefing gear and some complications even to try and scrap the reefing gear and just use it as a foil, hoisting sails up and down. That doesn't work so well either because it's not connected. But anyway, that's life. They'll get there eventually, and they're going to have the usual trades. They can't point as high, but they're still making progress. So Sterner, 105 mile day, not too bad, 6.6 knots. And they're only, compared to White Shadow now, that's 245, 245, 5565. So they're about 180 miles behind White Shadow, not too bad. And both Triana and now Galliana with Secure are lagging behind. That's not so good for them. They'll find that a bit frustrating, I'm sure. So you can see Triana's come across behind Galliana, doing 3.2 knots and pulling out more hair, slowly but surely. 64 mile day. They wouldn't be happy. Galliana, 83 mile day and doing 4.8 knots. One's on, you can see what was happening here before. It's swinging around and it might not be quite accurate to what they're actually getting, but Galliana was on port tack and Triana was on starboard tack. And it still seems to be the case, but it may be just starting to swing now because it's coming around this high here. There's a big high. It's the new one starting to form, and that's what's giving them these headwinds. It'll rotate around as this moves across, but we'll look at that shortly when we progress it for the next 2 days. So Outlaw on the move, 8.6 knots, 148 mile day, right behind Maiden, which will keep them impressed. So Maiden's now underway, 9.6 and 179 mile day. So pulling away again, but Outlaw have done pretty well to catch up there. They've got a good break with the weather. It allowed them to do that. Helsinki, Spirit of Helsinki is doing okay, 9.2 knots and a 211 mile day. They're let's just check the distance between them. I think so. 1866 versus 1966, near enough. So it's just under 100 miles. Just under 100 miles separating Spirit of Helsinki and Maiden. That'll keep them happy. Neptune's been doing okay. 7.8 knots and 187 mile day on the program. Now, translated 9, 8.1 knots, not as fast as they had been previously, and still 216 nautical mile day. And the Spirit of Keep holding it up there, 216. So it's the same as translated. That's not too bad. Doing 8.7 at the moment and heading up into this weather. So now, Penduic, they've got it pretty solid. In fact, that system may have come down a bit. I've been watching it on Windy, and we discussed this morning. It didn't warrant a weather alert because it was only coming in at maximum 32 knot forecast, and we specify 35 knot forecast before we put in a weather alert. And in amongst this, it's gusting up to about 40 knots in here, and sea still around sort of 4 or 5 meters, and at least it's on the quarter, so it keeps them moving really fast. And you'll see if we'll just roll this through to look at the leaders now, what they're likely to get. Here's the intense low pressure system here. So that's kind of interesting, quite extreme there. There's a bit of wind when you see it go light blue like that. That's probably 60, 65 knots in there. But it's driving this wind direction, which is going to propel all of these boats for quite some time, for at least the next few days. And I think Maiden might stay ahead of it. So we'll just follow this through just so you can see how it's going to pan out over the next. If you look at, they're about 1,500 miles away. So Penduic is, just go here, they were, just under 15. So if it was 1,500 and 250 mile days, that's six days. So 6 days from this morning. So imagine this morning, and you need to keep up with the breeze for 6 days, and it'll get them back in by the 11th. And that's pretty much what you're going to get. So here we go. We'll just quickly scan through this. So it's favourable winds there. That's through to the 6th. So there's day 1. Nothing but favourable winds, and they should keep hull speed and may manage 250 mile days. Here we go again for the next day. So there's another 250 mile day. So you'll be in this wind band here. So that's fully achievable. So there's day 2, and then we go into day 3. And by then, so we want 250, there's 5, 6, 750. So we want to get 750 miles ahead, see what's going to happen. 750 way up here. So now you can imagine Penduic just on the turn point here of the run line. It should be about there somewhere on day 3 at 8 o'clock. So there it is there. So so there's no question that Penduic will be in this breeze, pretty solid, pushing them further across into the UK. Anything behind here, like a Spirit of Keep and so on, if they're not able to keep up with that and they get stuck here, there's going to be another gap. So there goes the 8th. And then we're going into the 9th, nothing but favourable winds and solid at that, all the way in towards the English Channel. So there goes the 9th. The same again, it's just pushing through really solid following breezes. So there we go through to the 10th. So that's 5 days' time. And it holds right through until the 11th. So there we go. If you're looking here, you've got solid stuff taking them right into the UK. So there's 7:30 in the morning. It's still blowing. It doesn't keep blowing until late in the day, or it doesn't start to slow up until late in the day. So I'm pretty confident that Penduic will make 240 mile days, 250 mile days, and will arrive sometime on the 11th, which is a date to consider. And as it gets closer, we can look at it. It's still 6 days for the forecast. The forecast could change, but because they're big systems that are actually driving all this, if we look at what's going on here, there's some pretty big things happening. I think the forecast could be reasonably accurate in terms of wind direction and strength, because yes, there may be some changes in the systems, but they're so big, I don't think it's going to make much difference. The wind direction is still going to be favourable. So I think we'll see Penduic arriving sometime on the 11th, and then the others, it'll depend on how close they can keep in touch with Penduic. If they're within the 100 miles or so, 150 miles, they may be able to get through some of the other tricky bits. Those coming behind are going to be slowed up quite a bit. So Triana needs to get right up here by Maiden right now to hold on to those 2-day leads, because there's some potentials happening up there where Triana could get bogged down again down here somewhere and lose those 2 days, because Maiden could start flying, and it puts their overall position on all 4 legs at risk for sure. So it's not over for Triana yet. It's not a done deal, and that makes life quite interesting. I don't think any of the other boats will be able to make a break off Maiden. So at the moment it's Triana or Maiden, and the story's not over yet. So let's wait and see how that pans out. So just now to have a look at the 2-day forecast changes of wind. We'll just go slowly over the whole fleet. We can see that centre of the high out to the west is coming across. So in the next 24 hours, there it is. There it is here. Hang on a sec. Boom. Go to they're near enough to there. Okay, so these boats are going to have headwinds all the way up there, and can it's interesting. Can Spirit of Helsinki keep up with Penduic? I don't think they can. That's only 1 day, so let's just pan it out here and see what 200 miles looks like. Nope, that's 300 miles. So assuming Spirit of Helsinki, who's currently doing 9 knots, can do about 200 something miles, they're right on the edge of this light stuff. And so what's that mean for Maiden? It puts Maiden right in the light stuff as well. So they're not going to keep up with Penduic, that's for sure. Neptune, going to be just up here, keep sailing. But yeah, there's nothing fast happening here. Nothing fast at all. So, Outlaw, I think they'll get stuck behind. They'll slow right down. So there's going to be a further breakaway for Penduic. And Evrika and Tapio and Triana, they'll be tacking in light headwinds. See here, that's not fast either. But hopefully Triana can stay a little bit in touch with Maiden. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll just carry on for the second day. Sterna's okay, they'll have breeze tomorrow. But the second day, let's have a look what happened. So they did a couple of 100 miles. That calm's just coming across like a blocking band. Total disaster for Triana, Evrika, and Tapio. And there's day 2. So let's assume they did 150-mile days. They got 250-mile days. Boom, boom. They'll be right in the thick of that. Not even there. So these guys here have got no way through. So in the next 2 days, they'll still be down here. Penduic will have bolted. Maiden will probably be up ahead of that by then. They would have just come in, but they'll lose ground to Penduic. And all kind of interesting. So there's losers down here. They're struggling in the middle, and this lead group is on their way. So that's my total analysis for the next couple of days and the next 6 days for the others. And here, Lion Honours, Penduic, Spirit of Keep, translated, Helsinki, Neptune, So It Goes, and IRC. IRC sees translated still holding it just 47 days and 8 hours, and 48 and 22 for the Spirit of Keep. So translated got it, the Spirit of Keep. Penduic's coming up straight after that, and only about 2 days behind. Just under 5-6 hours under 2 days. Then Neptune, Outlaw, Maiden on 52 days. And let's see where Triana is. Maiden is there, 52. Yeah, well, actually, they're not so bad behind at the moment. So they're not losing that much ground right now. There's still there's only 3 hours, 17 hours So Maiden has picked up 17 hours on this, and she's got to do about 3 days to take it out right. So kind of interesting. All right, that's a short one this afternoon. So we'll come back here and pop that one there and see how everyone is. It's all a bit of ho-hum, but there's things happening now. I think the numbers will start building as we get closer towards the finish, and everything's sort of starting to go. So, Christine, I'll break some shocking news to you at the end of this. I discussed it with Jane. Hey, Jane, shall I tell them before? Jane said, I don't know, whatever you reckon, but I won't tell you who, but I'll just tell you what's going on. It's quite funny. Hi, Nigel. Welcome. G'day. Kathleen, hi. Rob, no questions there. VMG recent on combined results puts Maiden ahead. Perhaps unfair, but nearly 540 miles in 3 days lead at the moment. Yep. Okay, I'll believe you. Hi, Don. Really, what's the minimum number of people on board you think necessary for a no-tech race like this? A minimum. Well, they're actually just about finished finally the notice of race, but we have a minimum number of crew for each boat in each class. So minimum for adventure class is 6 crew, and minimum for Sayula class is 8 crew, and minimum for flyer class depends on the boat, because you can have big or small boats in flyer class. So and the way we work that out is that on an adventure class boat, if you've got 6, you've got 3 watches of 2 or 2 watches of 3. And you've got to remember there's no autopilots allowed in this event. So you've got someone steering all the time. You need another one standing by, and a third one maybe doing some cooking or hanging out, doing whatever. So that's our opinion of the minimum safe numbers. In Sayula class, it's just a bit more. The boats are a bit bigger, but you could actually quite comfortably sail a Sayula class boat with 6 on board, but you just wouldn't be fast. You can always undersail a boat. You do it when you're doing a delivery. It's not such a problem. So it depends on the boat, and it depends on a few other factors. But and even though we have a minimum crew, if someone was having an issue, and in fact, again, it's the same deal. I just put a time penalty on anyone who's we've defined a penalty. If you don't have a young person on board for a particular leg, or if you don't have a woman on board for a particular leg, there is a 48-hour time penalty, but it may be applied. And the reason for that is that and this was controversial, the fact that we gave 2 boats in this race permission to sail without a woman on board, and the women, and the reason we gave them a dispensation was quite simple. One of the crew bailed out just days before the restart, and there was no way they could have got a replacement. And the other one bailed out as soon as they got in from the leg, so had about 4 weeks to find a replacement. Now, finding a female sailor is not hard, but finding a female sailor who meets the requirements of the OGR, who's done all the medicals and the survival training and all that sort of stuff, at short notice can be really challenging. So it's no fault of the team or no fault of the skipper that they might lose one of their women. And so you can't just have a mandatory blanket, you're going to get penalty, bang. So after the facts are known, if we believe that it's fair and reasonable that they've tried to get a female on board and they can't, we give them a dispensation, and which is what we did for 2 of the legs. But we tell them very clearly, so if you don't get a woman on the next leg, you're in trouble. And so that's what they did. How did I get into this one? Anyway, and the same with a young person. Sometimes it's very hard to find a young person if they drop out at the last minute. So that's how that works. And that has some relevance to the next good content for the amazing story I'm about to tell you at the end of this one. It's quite amazing. Anyway, because when crew drop, you've got to find someone as best you can, as quick as you can, to keep it going. Okay, Rob. Rob. Over Triana, of course. Yep. Morning. We're traveling today for the total solar eclipse happening on Monday. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's over in America, I think. It's I've been under a total eclipse. It's pretty good, but this one's going to be a big one by the look of it. So good luck with that. That's fun. Okay, we're out of that. So here's the story. I'm not going to mention the name of the boats, right? But when you're in South Africa, getting visas into South Africa is a total nightmare. On 2 occasions, James tried, being Chinese, total nightmare. just gave up in the end. It was just too hard. So anyway, coming back the other way, if you've got South African crew on board, it's a real nightmare trying to get visas into anywhere else. And on one of the boats, could even be our boats, we've got a South African crew on board. He jumped on board at the last minute. A good mate of ours, got him on board, boom, boom. Didn't have a visa, so I should be right. We'll do a Seamen's crew visa coming in. And right now, as it stands, Explorer may not be able to land in the UK because we've just found out that maybe the Seamen's visa doesn't rank in the UK. So that's kind of interesting, because the only place we could actually put our crew member ashore after they cross the finish line could be Ireland. So we're not sure about that yet. But anyway, we're working on it, and there may be maybe others affected as well. So visas can always be a bit of fun. But anyway, part of the course. Okay, that's about it. So we'll see you tomorrow, and let's wait and see what happens there. Kind of fun. Bye-bye.